I'll do, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. A warm welcome to all present here. It is truly a great pleasure to have such a wonderful gathering of professional students and enthusiasts who share a common interest in health, nutrition, and mental well-being. Today, we are honored to have with us Dr. Sri Priya Shaji, an independent researcher in nutritional psychology and nutritional neuroscience, and a distinguished counseling psychologist, dietitian, and entrepreneur. With over 16 years of experience, Dr. Sripriya integrates nutrition, psychology, and neuroscience to strengthen mental and nutritional healthcare in India. She is the founder of Srisha Counseling and Srisha Academy, and her work spans areas like eating disorders, neurodevelopmental and neurodegenerative conditions, maternal mental health, and geriatrics. She is a passionate researcher and educator, and she has numerous publications, scientific presentations, and national and international speaking engagements to her credit. Her work truly bridges food, mind, and culture in today's evolving health landscape. We are delighted to hear from you, ma'am, today. Over to you, ma'am, to share your expertise and enlighten the audience.
Thank you so much, Fiza. I have a small thing. My experience in hospital background is 16 years. Now I have over 23 years of experience. So I have started my clinic after working for 16 years. Then I started my own center and proceeded like almost 7 years now. So thank you for this wonderful platform and the opportunity from my own Miraki team. And today we are going to talk about the very interesting and fascinating topic of mine, ultra-processed foods. So what are the ultra-processed foods? We can have just open your chat box and can give you small answers if possible. How many of you believe that ultra-processed are healthy? Quickly, you can just type in the chat box. Wait for 1 minute and then proceed. Okay. Just say yes or no. You believe that ultra-processed foods are healthy? Very good, Adira. You have just given the definition of ultra-processed foods. How many of you believe that ultra-processed are totally unhealthy? Okay, let's dive into the session. I'm not taking so much of time. So what is the definition of ultra-processed? Yes, as Adira has mentioned, it is a processing of foods into different methodologies, like natural foods has been synthesized from other organic compounds, and the results are like highly profitable, convenient, hyper palatable, and often through the preservatives, additives, colorings, and processing. The process it undergoes or molding, extruding, hydrogenation, and frying. Okay. So, for example, can you type some ultra processed food which has undergone this molding, extruding, or hydrogenation process? Maybe a 1 minute quick type in Indian foods. So most of the times the raw ingredients will be extracted from the natural sources and it will be chemically modified, altered with the enhanced functionality and safety. And it is formulated, the mixtures are created to achieve desired taste and texture. And the additives are also included to extended shelf life effectively. So these basic things most of us dietitians know. So can you say some of the ultra processed food which we use? Do we have ultra processed food for children? Just type in 1 or 2 foods example. So there is always a biggest question. Bread, instant noodles. Thank you, Priyanka. Bread, instant noodles, kurkures, chips, lays, and all those things are extruding and reshaping the products. And yes, also we do have baby products, right? They are also processed or sometimes ultra processed. So what is the evolution of food processing? What is the need? So every invention is the mother of some needs, is causing the, sorry, every need is the mother of some inventions. So what was the reason for food processing? Many commonly it happened only during the world wars when the food insecurity was there, wastage was there. For example, we have a lot of bulk of rice, but this rice cannot be taken in a single day. We cannot store it more after over a period of, like this is for example I'm saying, over a period of time. What did people do? They started preserving it, parboiling it, removing the bran is a process, then parboiling is a process, then adding it with the some kind of preservative methods or formulation is also a process. So mainly this causes starts with the world wars and the evolution started from there in the 19th century. And next important reason for the food processing techniques and preservation techniques, next to food safety and war and drought time, what are the reasons or the reasons for food safety? I thought somebody will answer. It will be nice if we interact.
Can you repeat the question?
Okay. What are the ancient methods like food safety or food processing is initiated? Can you say some old ancestry method?
Preserving meat and fishes by adding salt, pickles.
Good.
Sun drying, smoking, salting, fermentation, then pickling, then sugaring.
Yes, pickling, making into puppets. But one of the very ancient food preservation method, what I learned over the process of years is, many of us see in the temples, no? In the temples, they on the top, we'll see a kalasap, right? Kumbh or kalas. Have you all seen? So what does it hold? It hold the seeds. It hold the seeds. Navadanya seeds will be holded in that and kept in the top. In case if there is a flood also, that can stay untouched and because it is in the topmost layer and that can be used after the flood season. So these are the very ancient techniques of food processing. Then they started with the milling. First fermentation and like milk were converted into curd, buttermilk, ghee, butter, all this processing also comes under food processing techniques. Okay. Then later comes with the fridge and other things. Even smoking. Priyanka has said it rightly, smoking and making the chuka dry is also another technique, and dry fishing and drying the meats, all those comes under the food processing techniques. So what are the challenges in nutrition with the food processing techniques? They are all conveniently started for the good cause, right? Even for example, if there is a medical nutrition therapy or the smoothies, which were started for conveniently making the person who could not digest or able to chew or swallow. So this is misused for normal people, like meal gaps, or they want to take a meal breaks and all those things. They are misusing this kind of thing. So this kind of lack of knowledge in the food and confusion among the consumers, and the over marketing is happening, like hyper exaggeration of things, and hidden ultra processed techniques is also the challenges of nutrition. So when we talk about ultra processed, many of us talk about the big things, burgers, pizzas, and other things. But we have many. I should not have branded the thing, but I couldn't get other photos. There are many brands available, not only MTR, but there are many brands which have all these things. Even Vatakorambu mix, or what you call ready to eat foods, or readily available in the popular Indian culture. So papads and all is homemade ones, pickles and all is homemade ones. I remember like making pickles only with sun drying. Like they keep in the sun for 7 days, 8 days. But what are people doing now in the bottles? How do you get? What is added to that processing technique? Even the homemade pickles they claim, they are adding something, no? We can taste it, smell it. Yeast or something. Vinegar. Vinegar is added to the food substance or pickles to keep it tangy, and the flavor should not be lost. And next thing what we are seeing is the very important concept of food processing and preservation came on when the people started traveling from one place to another place. Apart from the war and drought, the movement, globalization, we started living in so many different areas, and we wanted our own tasty foods. So what happens? We wanted something which can be preserved. Like in olden days, when they travel, like they have to travel from one forest to another forest, they used to take kattichuru or whatever thing they carry. It will have the processed food like Vatakorambu, Pulikarambu, these kind of things were processed in the home kitchens with the minimally processing measures. However, they also have HFSS, high fat, salt and sugar, and that were processed in the way. But now there is a very dangerous thing for the students in hostel or the persons living in PG or mess or staying away from home. They say, I eat very healthy. I don't go to hotel. Then what do you eat? They will immediately say, I will bet ready to eat pongal or kishri or paratha, ready to eat paratha or half cooked chapatis. How far these are really healthy? That is the question. And many of us know they are not 100% healthy. What makes us fall into that trap? The very common trap of the nowadays it is like every family at least use one pack meal. That can be a breakfast or dinner. Many people say that my children love to eat cereals, they are healthy, I give them cereals every day. So there are many, like we also know that how oats are used. Many people even still think that instant oats also give the same as result as whole oats, right? So even educated people fall in this trap. Why? Because the dual income, long commuting hours, late hours, coming back at the late hours, and the kitchen dynamics is changing. Women workforce and elaborate cooking is reduced, and even men and teens are cooking nowadays as they stay in hostel or for the home when mother is coming late. They prefer easy to cook packets, and very important two things are marketing and urbanization. So what are the prime concerns? Why should be more concerned? If a person is going to get heart attack or obesity, these are the only concerns. There is something called health halo effect. This is a very important concern, and the dynamics of kitchen is also changing. That makes the nutrition inadequate. That is the very important, because many times people nowadays, not everybody are like fond of food or foodies as we call them. No, many things that it is okay, we can eat something and survive, or we want to eat something very important or very good, but what happens is unfortunately they are not meeting the required nutrients, or actual nutrients are not there. And many times there is also hidden sugars which they are not unaware about, or salt, and many times these claim of healthy is not true. That is what we are coming to know time in and time again. So many times they say, for example, like me and Uma used to discuss earlier, like half-baked chapati. Like I think she went to a place where they are making it, and she understood that making the wheat paratha needs much trans fat. This all of us know. Still needs higher fat to make the dough is to make the paratha. So wheat paratha, people they says that I don't eat maida paratha, I eat only wheat paratha. But what happens? Their intake of fat is very high. Likewise, noodles, they claim it as like we make it in a healthy way, but many times the adding preservatives are very high. And even some of the cakes, they say homemade cakes, but the hidden sugars and salts are there in this. So people started believing this is healthy. Yeah, the recent is millet comeback. Millet, like it was so dramatized that millet cookies, millet biscuits, and millet noodles and all those things. They say that it is healthier than wheat or rice anyway. But unfortunately, people doesn't know it is not the actual case, and there are many nutrient losses. Maybe yes, some nutrients can be preserved, but not all nutrients because of the processing methods and the gap between what we think that there is a health and unhealthy. That label reading is not still proper. People are not still understanding what is the label. They are not understanding the concept of preservation. They even call, some people say that I have a friend who told me, like, I don't even keep anything in my fridge. I make everything fresh in the day morning. And I asked, what will be your breakfast? She said, I'll take a bowl of cereals. So they are not understanding what is preservation or what is processing or what is hyper processing or ultra processing. So the knowledge gap is very high in our society. So what are the key characteristics? This is very, very famous and fond of the high palatability, because a woman who is going to for work, she doesn't like Monday to Saturday she is working. On Sunday, she doesn't want to grind some batter. There is a funny like comedy in Tamil series. They say that they bought grinder, mixer, and every other equipment to make idli batter. But finally, they go and buy idli mavu packet from the stores. So what happens here? People think this store-bought idli mavu is same like what we used to grind in home because of the high palatability and long shelf life. Because this packets or this atta mix are not getting, like for example, if we buy some wheat and millet, this atta podi is not going to stay for longer time. But if you buy some packets, they survive more than 3 to 6 months. So this long shelf life makes things very convenient for people who want to make their life easy. So what is the classification? Like once this ultra processing is understood, what is the classification? There is something called NOVA classification system. They classify this into 4 things. One is unprocessed, minimally processed or processed culinary ingredients, processed foods or ultra processed. So what is this unprocessed or minimally processed? We get the immediately cut chicken or kind of things, fresh vegetables packed in a nice dabbas and sent to us, or chopped vegetables or chopped fresh fruits or sent. But most commonly, this should not be processed at all. The next step is processing of oils and sugar. So oils, like essential for cooking, they are enhancing the flavors, or even the coconut oil, they say organic and raw. Sometimes they are processed oils, groundnut oil, processed gingerly oil. All this, even salt, iodized salt. This enhancing, not only enhancing with the taste and things, also some of the essential vitamins or minerals like iodizing the salt or ferritin to the rice and all those things are done with the processing, minimum processing methods. And processed nutrition is kind of canned foods. Like in the Western climate, there is lot of molds formation is very common. So they can the foods and make the bottle or pickle it in some amount of way. And cheese is also processed. Bread is also processed. There is a recent reel, someone said, like, I think my client sent me, ma'am, they are saying bread is processed. Can I eat bread anymore? So these kind of, they are all minimally processed staple for the staying or keeping. Like in that case, even we are milling the puttu podi, these are all processed. It is processing methods, idiyappam, making idiyappam. These are all simple or minimal processing methods. Next comes the ultra processed, which is, as said earlier, increased with the higher amount of unhealthy preservatives and high sugar, and the sugar goes beyond the classified amount. Artificial ingredients is added to it, and even in the processed meat, they add lot of sodium preservatives to increase the health risk. So next, when it comes to probiotics and prebiotics, there is a long talk. Even there is a ice cream which claims that enhanced with probiotics and prebiotics. So this prebiotics, probiotics, we have to understand the concept of prebiotic to postbiotic, symbiotic and probiotics. So refrigeration does kill some of the probiotics, and some types of processing also kills the probiotics. For example, even in the earlier session, I have told people that flavored yogurt. Yogurt is actually good, and yogurt is synthesized. And extra cultured bacteria or direct bacteria is also good for certain people, not for everyone. But when it is processed with additional sugars, additional tasting, flavor enhancement, these are not coming under the proper fermentation or protective mechanism. So what are the health impacts? Many studies are coming on the health impacts, but the very important studies talks on the obesity. Obesity is the very important potential hazard. It is a very important cause, and the change in the metabolic health is what studies are saying. So they the high additives also impact on the overall health. Another important recent study I have studied is it is also changing the eating pattern of a person, eating behavior. It is triggering the reward system of the brain. And what happens when the reward system is triggered? The people are falling into the trap of binge eating or excessive eating of foods. So it is always like double-edged sword. How much is too much is what the knowledge we have to gain, and the amount of usage that we cannot completely avoid. But the maximum, as a working woman, how much you try to use it. You have to have the knowledge on processing methods, how much we can process. For example, as I said earlier, we can make a sprouts. Like how many days can a person keep a sprout? Though it is a minimally processed or things, how many days can a person keep a sprout in a refrigeration? Can someone type in? It's a very small crowd. You can easily answer. A week. Anybody else? When we say this, it is a good bacteria, the live bacteria keeps changing. Okay, not just here, even in the like as I said, idli batter or dosa batter, many people says that I make it for a batch and store it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks and all. I heard people saying that. But what happens to the change of bacteria? Most commonly, the good bacteria or first day they have grown. Second and third day, they are into the bifidobacterium or lactobacterium, all these stages. And on the fourth, fifth day, it turns slowly started into becoming a yeast. So have you ever heard that sometimes I had idli and I got a severe stomach disturbances or gastric irritation because the flour has got yeast formation? That is why. And some people even say when I get a store-bought batter, then immediately I get a gastric flatulence and kind of things. It is because the yeast formation is high. Likewise, any live bacteria, even the sprouts can be stored up to 4 days maximum. 3 to 4 days is what we generally say, or 4 days is the high time they can be stored. That is the way of processing foods. Even the curd and buttermilk, after the third day, the yeast formation will start and the mold start growing. So there are many studies coming up, even they are proving that cancer causing and many INS and kind of many things are added to that, and they are cancer causing, and ultra processing is making a heavy damage to the overall health, especially metabolic and reproductive health. That is what studies are saying, but still we don't have a very like strong studies to prove the fertility or metabolic health. However, the cardiovascular health risk and obesity is proven with many studies. Even the meta-analysis are proving that there are things. So how should we proceed with this ultra-processed foods? How do we go about it? So before going that, we have a quick test. Like I will name some foods and you have to say me whether it is ultra-processed or processed. Okay. What about like Payamburi? Just type HPSS or HFSS or UPF. Payamburi. I hope people are there in the chat. I will wait for 1 minute. HFSS. Thank you, Ma. Anybody else? So all of you agree with the HFSS. I think someone said UPS. You mean HFSS or UPF? Okay. So Payamburi is definitely a HFSS category because it is not added with any emulsifiers or fragmenting substances. However, it is over-treated with sugar, oil, and other preservatives. So how about the ready-to-eat products? RTE, ready-to-eat products. Exactly. Even if it is a pongal or some khichdi, which is cooked and stored for the longer shelf life, definitely there is a higher amount of preservatives added to it. Though it is not emulsified, the hydrogenesis processes are happening. So it is preserved for the longer shelf life. The pongal cannot be retained after a day when we home cook, but it is preserved for longer shelf life. It comes under the ultra processing methods or techniques. So next thing, RTE. What about sodas? Soda. Very good. Many have both the thoughts, HFSS and UPF. So, soda, like when it is the colors and preservatives are added, like for example, Cokes, Pepsi, and all those things with emulsified drinks, it is UPF. However, there are normal sodas which were not having the colors or additional preservatives. They comes under HFSS. Okay. So this two with the labels we can distinguish. Next, what are the substance we have to think about? Kind of chutney powders, chutney mix, which is very famous in today's market. Exactly, it is a ultra process because hydrogenases and emulsifying factors are happening in that. That is how it is preserved, not just with the salt or sugar or oil. It is preserved with the hydrogenesis processing and then it is stored in the packet. So chutney powders, chutney mixes are coming under UPS, ultra processed. What about batter? Idli dosa batter. Actually, this doesn't come under HFSS at all because there is no fat, oil, salt, or sugar is added to it at all. But it undergoes the processing method of milling and grinding in the home. If it has to be stored for the longer shelf life, it has to undergo the ultra process emulsifying mechanisms or hydrogenasis mechanism to come as a longer shelf life batter. So it is a UPS, UPF, ultra processed foods, or when we make it in home, it is a minimally processed. Processing and fermenting is the important techniques of cooking and that enhances the quality of food. However, when it is ultra processed, it is not going to enhance us. Yes, many are adding preservatives. HFSS is high fat, salt, and sugar. Adding preservatives is ultra processing. Ultra processing and keeping the shell life longer. They are like hydrogenasis techniques they are using. So maybe in idli batter, dosa batter, the amount of salt cannot be increased. So they go for the processing, increasing the processing mechanisms. So it doesn't comes under the HFSS, it comes under the UPF. Okay. Next, there are some food substances like, for example, we have this interesting meat, what it is called, like the KFC type of things. Broasted chicken and other things. So they preserve it, even nuggets, they preserved it. And that, what is that? Ultra processed or HFSS? Exactly. That is, the meat has undergo many kind of processing mechanism and it is ultra processed. HFS is storing with the or cooking with the higher fat, salt and sugar mechanism. Adding soda bicarbonate even to the idli batter is the way we store, but or salt to the thing is what we do. But the processing method or battering the method is totally different for ultra processing. Hydrogenasis method or emulsification methods are involved in ultra processing. Okay. So most of the times the broast and nuggets doesn't come under both. The broast and nuggets comes under ultra processed. However, there are some meat cut and just preserved. That comes under maybe preservation methods or minimally processed methods. Okay. So we do also get some curds and buttermilks, which has the expiry of 7 days, 5 days. What does it comes under? Ultra processed or minimally fermented or minimally processed? Most of the curds and butters, buttermilks or all the within the batch date is minimally processed or minimally fermented. However, without the batch date or added probiotic, added flavored, all those comes under ultra processed. Especially the flavored yogurts, flavored buttermilks, flavored curds and or probiotic added. These all comes under the ultra processing mechanism. Okay. So what other things like mushrooms in a fresh packet mushroom? Minimally processed for preservation. Whereas if it is cooked or ready to eat, then it is ultra processed. The shapes, emulsification methodology, hydrogenasis process, shapes, and all those things make the things ultra processed. Most commonly, high fat, salt, sugar substances or our home cooked snacks or street foods comes under high fat, salt, and sugar. For example, vada comes under high fat and payamburi, all those things. Nuggets. Yeah, nuggets is mostly like the pieces or cut chopped into minced. We can say it is minced and turned into the different shape, adding amount of food particles like ginger garlic paste and breadcrumbs to it and all those preservatives and the changing of the shape. For example, like kurkure, changing of the shape. Nuggets also changed in the processed, pressed, emulsified, hydrogenases added, pressed and then made into a particular shape and ready to cook methodology. So that comes under ultra processing of foods. Is it clear? So another thing which I learned recently, the store-bought nuggets also has not only the edible portion of meats, also have the non-edible portion of meat. So again, that becomes a more worst categorization of these things. Not only the meat, many other food substances, except fruits, many other even vegetables, they add the non-edible part and crush it together. For example, even the garlic is crushed as a whole. So the skin without peeling, it is crushed, and the non-edible part is also processing. Even there is something called ginger garlic paste is available in the packets. Where does it belongs to? It is not minimally processed. Most common ginger garlic paste, as mentioned, it is ultra processed because not only they are adding sodium bicarbonate to it, the crushing methodology or hydrogenases adding the oil towards it to crush, all those things makes it ultra processed. Any other questions in this? Yes, Fatima. I think that.
Okay.
Sorry, he's not allowed.
Thank you,
Thank
Sri
you,
Priya.
Ma. Thank
It was
you.
a nice session. Yeah.
Thank
Everybody is busy, no,
Post
year
Christmas.
end. So, yeah, Christmas and holidays. It's a crisp and clear one, Sri Priya. Thank you so much.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you so much for the session, ma'am, because even I have many confusions in the ultra process food. There was ഒരുപാട് ഡൗട്ട് ഇരുന്നു ഈവൻ നൗ ജിഞ്ചർ ഗാർലിക് പറഞ്ഞില്ലായിരുന്നു അതുപോലെ ഒരുപാട് കാര്യങ്ങളുണ്ടായിരുന്നു താങ്ക് യു സോ മച്ച് മാം.
Thank you. I think there is one more question from Nandini. Like, how about the fruits and vegetables that are supplied in supermarkets, as they can undergo any processing to increase their shelf life? Honestly, many times we hear, no, they are doing some ammonium dipping and all those things. So there are some processing mechanism undergo anything to be like transported. Like, I think I would suggest every dietitian who wants to know more about ultra process, we should also learn about food carbon prints. What are the way they preserve and process? It is like sometimes it is too much and fearful. Sometimes they use a lot of fertilizers. Of course, they were all started for the good thought, good intentions. They wanted to increase reduce the food insecurity and global hunger index. But what happens is that, like, some way the range is very high. So the processing is, if it is minimal, it is fine. But most commonly in the supermarkets, when the food enter, that undergoes a minimal processing because they have to store in the refrigerated area but open. So they want to be disinfected. So minimal processing is undergoing. That's why they are all fresh and there is no even, we cannot see much of each, and small fruit mosquitoes will not be flying there because of the processing methodologies. That's why we always encourage to buy fresh, locally grown foods.
മാം റീസെന്റ് സ്റ്റഡീസ് നമ്മളെ ബേബീസിനൊക്കെ അല്ല ബേബീസിനായാലും നമ്മളെ വലിയവർക്കായാലും പാസ്ചറൈസേഷൻ ചെയ്തത് കൊണ്ട് നമ്മൾ പാക്കറ്റ് മിൽക്കാണ് ബെറ്റർ എന്ന് പറയാറുണ്ടല്ലോ. സോ ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് പ്രോസസ്ഡ്. So how can we why the recent studies claims
the processing method of oil and milk is totally different. Like how they are adding this iodization to the salt. Likewise, there are some good processing methods also. Milk is processed in the different way. This, they remove that fat and they make it what they call that. It is double toned. or toned, that boiling temperature will
Pasteurization,
be pasteurization, the temperature will be increased, and all those mechanisms are good for saving the lactobacillus and prevention of food. But when we say that the packet milk or curd is safe, yes, to the maximum extent of 75 to 80% it is safe. But see if your milk undergoes, like when the can dabba we buy, no, the 180 days, 190 days, that pasteurization, most commonly it is good. But for the shelf life, are they using any emulsification or hydrogenasis processes are going on? Then that products, like most commonly milk, it is not happening, but it is happening in the curd or buttermilk and also in the yogurts. So there we have to see yogurts, many times it is flavored and the emulsifications are happening. So that is where we have to be very careful on.
Yeah, because the milk and like what was the second one? Oil.
Oil.
Milk and oil, yeah. So they are highly perishable, no? So it is better to take it as the packet ones are better and safe, because many people think that packet one is not good. Packet പാലില് മൊത്തം ചീത്തയാണെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് they go for the no, directly from the vendors, and most of the time they dilute the milk, and it is not pasteurized, which is very dangerous also. So it is better to go for the packet milk. And I think oil also, it is always nutritionally better to use the cold pressed oil. No, recently someone was telling me in Trivandrum, they take the crude oil and mix the flavors, or the flavor enhancers to get the taste of sunflower, the coconut oil and all. They put some flavors and make it. I was wondering, when I bought coconut oil from one shop, it was 480 rupees or something, 1 liter. At the same day in the market, without any label or anything, plain pure, it looks like pure coconut oil, and they were charging only 350 rupees. I was wondering how, like, the same place within 2 kilometers radius, this much rate difference. Then later I came to know about this malpractice, adulteration happening, which is very dangerous. Yeah.
Not only
No.
crude oil, namale ee chips idunna oils alle, that also is also like cleared, and they have a clearing process machines and they use it.
And for the smell, coconut oil smell, they add some additive, it seems. So that person who found out the thing she was telling, she kept it in this thing freezer, the adulterated coconut oil, and there was sedimentation at the bottom. The real coconut oil definitely saturated, it becomes solid. The top layer was still solid, I mean liquid, it seems. So that's the reason, like they were able to make it out. But
Even
unfortunately,
like ultra processing happen with the butters and geese. They do a lot of, especially cheese and all. They do a lot of ultra processing methods because of the like increasing the content and the taste enhancement, all those things. No.
Yeah. So when we are, especially when the coconut oil price was soaring high, people were reaching out for the cheaper versions. But this is the hidden risk, health risk in that. So again, label reading, maybe 80 to 90% we can trust. So go for the good brand ones where the chances of adulteration is less. So that is the only way we can go, I think.
Thank you, Adira, for the nice comment. Any other discussions we can discuss on this, because it's a very important area we have to, like, days are changing and people want, even we want like quick fixes. So we have to understand how better to fix it quick. Not everything is the right way.
Ma'am, what about for this dosa idli maav? You are totally against getting that? Because I sometimes get it.
As of my knowledge, there is no such good brand exist in our market, to be honest. ഇത് ഇന്റർനെറ്റിൽ വരുമ്പോൾ എനിക്ക് അടി കിട്ടാൻ ചാൻസ് ഉണ്ട്. But honestly, there is like every brand undergoes some amount of ultra processing methods. Without that, they cannot, like any batter, like once it is fermented and made, this batter will have a live bacteria. This live bacteria can grow into the minimal temperature limitation to certain level. So once after the third day, maximum third day, the lactobacillus or all the bacteria, good bacteria, will get converted into the yeast. This we study in our microbiology. We like put the fourth day batter in microscope, and you can see that the nice, beautiful pinkish color yeast will be formed there, which is totally unhealthy for us. That pink is so bad, and if the yeast has to be like moved away, they have to undergo the ultra processing method. So that is the proper biochemical way of making this. In that case, the store-bought will not definitely help, and it is highly, we say that idli is good, probiotic, postbiotic and all, but the store-bought will not make any postbiotic. It is only gut affecting, dysbiosis causing.
Yeah, I think the idli batter also, two things I have noticed. If you're sure about, no, some people, ladies, they make it at home and they distribute in small packets. If you know them personally, it is still okay, I think. If you are really busy to grind it at home. And second thing, what I have observed is even for the yogurt and buttermilk, no, some places they don't keep it in the fridge. And sometimes they keep it in the fridge and turn off the fridge during the night to save electricity. So that also the real temperature they are not maintaining, no, then also the problem, no, deterioration happens. And another thing recently I heard, like the small scale industry where they make the dosa batter, no, they put the soda bicarbonate, yeast and all to keep it fresh. Even after 2 days, it will not become sour because of the adding all these things, which is usually when we make dosa batter, hardly like water and salt we add along with it, no, but when you are commercially buying it, even if the branded or just packet ones, it's very risky as they add all these things. So remind again everybody that only homemade things are always better. We don't put any hazardous things for our health. So whenever possible, let us make it at home and encourage our clients also to do the same thing to level best. That's what we can recommend.
And we can tell them how to plan their day. That is very important. Otherwise, it is very difficult. And even many baby foods or ready to eat foods or many healthy biscuits, all those things undergoes many ultra processing methods. We had in my hometown, there was Britannia company. We had used to see how much processing happens with the Britannia, one single biscuit. So the processing, without processing, that will not have a longer shelf life. Once there is a longer shelf life, then we have to look into the way it is processed, how minimally processed, how hardly processed. As I said earlier, this Vatakolambu preparation is one of the home cooked preparation, which they use lot of oil. My grandmother and all used to use at least 1 cup of oil for 15 days of things. When we say that only 3 teaspoon or 5 teaspoon, they have lot of oil and salt too, not a very high salt, but still salt goes there to keep it for 15-20 days. Then there was no fridge also, no? So this processing method always has some amount of fat and salt. So you can keep it processed. Like for example, I don't deny that I don't keep Vatakolambu with me, but how often I use, like during the very difficult days when we are also feeling unhealthy. For example, during our periods days, we are feeling very tired to cook. Your husband or your partner or children could not cook. They are very dependent children. Then you can use, but it should not be a daily food. That is where the conscious learning comes and mindfulness of eating foods comes. How far you use, how much you use, the quantity, that is very important. Anything else? Any other questions?
Ma'am, Priya is saying Horlicks Boost also.
Exactly.
Same category.
Exactly. They are completely ultra processed without any doubt. Complan or Horlicks or Boost, anything. Even we call this, what to say, healthy supplements. Most of the supplements are all ultra processed only. Just think, we are making Amrutopadi or Satamavu Kanji at home. How long we can preserve it? The milling process will give the shelf, like dry roasting and milling process can increase the shell life to 3 months. For Satamavu Kanji, I use home like drying, home roasting, and then I mill it from the directly under our observation from the mill. So it enhances to 3 months, not more than 3 months, you know. So, but Horlicks and all, Boost and all, it has more than 3 or 5 years. Automatically, it comes under ultra processed. And the strawberry lipstick for the kids, baby friendly, those are also ultra processed. Even the cakes are ultra processed because it is emulsified and then it is baked. The shell life of the cake is increased to the egg is increased to 2 to 3 days. Any other questions? Sweets comes under HFSS, high fat, salt and sugar. And definitely sweets in this dabbas, no, we get the son papdi and rasgulla, they are all highly processed. Okay, the classification goes like this. When the sweet normally made in a sweet stall at a home, it has a high fat, salt and sugar to it. Mainly sweetness are added. But when they have to enhance it and pack it in the dabbas and keep it for more than 15 days or 20 days, then automatically it goes to the UPF category. Because they add flavors, enhance the taste and shell life. Thank you, girls. If there is no other questions, we can move on.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
So if there is no other queries, shall we end the session, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay. It was really a great session. I take this opportunity to thank ma'am first. Ma'am so willingly agreed to share her knowledge and her very valuable insights with all of us. Thank you so much, ma'am. I also thank the team of Meraki for have organizing the session. The entire team, such a wonderful session the way you have organized. I also thank all the participants and the audience for your enthusiastic presence and engagement. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a great evening.
Thank you all. Wish you a best New Year also.
Yes. Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah, next year we will meet again.
Let's have a healthy and happy New Year ahead.
Bye-bye.